What's good, y'all? Back again, another day. And today we're doing it a little different. On this one, what I want to talk about is the books that I read in January. I know a lot of y'all have been watching the books that I did for 2021, and I was just thinking, man, how could I make the content better? And so what I came up with was what I'll do is every month I'll do a video of the books that I read for that month in particular, if I read any books. And then what I'll do is at the end of the year, we'll just do a recap of all of the books, and then we'll do the top book of 2022 that I enjoyed the most. So jumping right into it, I read 4 books this month. That's about a book a week. In actuality, I did not read a book every single week, but I doubled up one week, and that's how I ended up with 4 books. When I'm reading, I like to read at my own pace, and I don't like to rush it or feel pressure to read. Like I said, one year I read 76 books, and when I did that, I felt forced and rushed, and I probably could have read more had I paced myself instead of feeling like I had to do it. So ever since then, and that was back in 2020. Yeah, that was 2020. So I decided moving forward that I would not try to read a specific number of books, but what I do is just focus on books that stand out to me, and I read them with intention. I may try to do 4 books a week. I mean, 4 books a month, which is 52 books maybe. But if I don't hit 52, I'm not tripping on it at all. I know that there's been times that I read more. I know that there's times that I read less. So as long as I'm reading and retaining the information, I don't really feel like I have to read a specific number of books. After all, the purpose of reading is to make your life better and improve your life. So I don't like reading just for the sake of reading or reading for pleasure. Even though I have gotten into fiction books and things of that nature. I really prefer reading books that I can use and apply to my everyday and make my life better, make me self-aware, make me more intentional, things of that nature. So with that being said, let's go ahead on and hop right into the first book. It was called Phishing for Phools, and I think the author was Robert Schiller. I'll put it over here just like we did last time. I really enjoyed this book. It was a suggestion by my frat brother Daniel, who's actually one of my biggest supporters on this channel. So shout out to you, Dan. I appreciate you. I know you're looking at this, or I know that you'll look at it at some point. So I really appreciate you, my brother. This book was written by his professor, and I really enjoy it because even though it's talking about basic economics, it's applying it and breaking it down in ways that, anybody can understand. And basically, Phishing for Phools, it's a play on words because it's spelled PH, like when you go to a website and they're fishing for your identity, not actual phishing, but phishing PH. And so what it's saying, the book is talking about, quick synopsis, is it's basically talking about how over the years there have been people that have targeted a certain sector of people with information, and then they figure out how they can get what they want or scam them, basically. The book is talking about scammers and how there's so many different ways of scamming. My favorite part was when they talked about the breakdown of the economic crash of the housing market back in 2008. I think that was the best breakdown that I've had in forever. Second greatest, I'd say, would be a podcast. I don't remember the name of the podcast, but I'll drop it in the description. It just talks about the breakdown of the crash, what happened, and why it happened. And so I would definitely suggest that book, Phishing for Phools, Robert J. Schiller. Great book. I love it. I really enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend checking it out. The next book that I read was The Rational Male Religion, and this book is by Rollo Tomasi. I've read all of his books, the Rational Male books. I think I'm gonna have to do a separate video on the Rational Male and just the Red Pill community as a whole, because what I noticed, and I listen to a lot of this stuff, and you can get into the alpha male and blah, 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 blah. And I agree with a lot of those things. There are some truths to. A lot of it is just, cap or whatever, and it's just, yeah, it doesn't apply. But certain elements that they talk about, I do agree with. Especially with this one, it's talking about religion and how religion was basically uh, it was a means of control. Religion is a means of control. It's getting people to play by a certain playbook and believe a certain ideology and behave a certain way. And Rational Male, well, from a red pill perspective, what this book is basically saying is it breaks down relationships and how religion originally viewed relationships. And I would say check this book out. Like I said, I'm gonna have to do a separate video on the red pill community as a whole, because something that I've noticed watching it and looking into it is that race does play a very huge factor in it. And a lot of the people that are in the red pill community are definitely suspected of being racist and having racist views, which isn't an issue. I mean, racism is what it is. Everybody's racist. That's not my issue. My issue is when you have power and you use that racism, or you have an audience and you use that racism, or you have a voice or a platform and you use that racism. That's when it becomes an issue. If you're holding down other people or you're preventing other people, which a lot of people say that it doesn't, and I'm not even going to get into that. But what I will say is anybody that has a voice that people look at and people listen to, the things that you say matter. Like, you have a platform, people come to you, that makes you an influencer, even if it's 10 people or 5 people. Right now my channel, I average about 20 to 30 views. I had the one joint where I had like 400 views, the proposal video, but that's not ordinary. Right now, I'm looking at about 20 views per episode, which is good because when I first started getting consistent, I was about 3 or 4. Then I got to 10 to 12, and now I'm at 20, which means it's growing. But not to get off on a tangent, what I'm saying is if you have a platform, then you have to be responsible for what you say on that platform. And you have to be very clear and very specific about what you say so that it's not taken into interpretation. And of course, people will chop up your words and they'll use it. It's the internet. It's very hard to be 100% perfect. And then there's also the fact that people take your stuff and they chop it up because the headline is always more salacious than the truth, and headlines sell papers, not the truth. So with that being said, you just have to be careful and you have to watch what you say and maneuver a certain way. And if you say certain things, stand behind it. And, back to the actual book, I enjoyed it. I definitely recommend it. I have recommended it to a few people. Definitely, if you want to get a take on religion and relationships with objective perspective, then that's definitely a book to check out. The third book that I read was The Profiteers, and this book was really good. The Profiteers is about the world's largest construction company, Bechtel, which started out in California, I want to say the Bay Area, and they, one guy worked his way up, and then he built the Hoover Dam, and then once they built that project, they started working with governments, and then eventually they became a global conglomerate, building places all over the world. Like, they were working with the Bin Laden family. They were responsible for the deconstruction of Saddam Hussein's mansion. They built places in Abu Dhabi, all over the world. Bechtel says that they built something on all 7 continents, and it just talks about how much power that they have and the influence that they have on not only the American government, but governments all over the world based on their skill set and what they've been able to do over the years. And this book, it reminded me a lot of Confessions of an Economic Hitman, but this one wasn't written in a first person type of scenario. This one was more outside looking in, but they were very detailed. You can tell the author that wrote this book really did their research. They really did a lot of information. They really did a lot of information and fact finding. So I really enjoyed this book. I definitely say check it out. This is another one that I enjoyed reading. Really good book if you want to, get an understanding of politics and lobbying and how all of that stuff works, bribery, the whole 9. Reading this book, I can definitely say it gave me a much better understanding of the government and how it works. who's who and how they shake and move. And my biggest takeaway is just relationships, building relationships and networking, because man, a good lobby will get you a long way. And the last book I read was Trust Me, I'm Lying by Ryan Holiday. Let me just say I am extremely biased. I'm a big fan of Ryan Holiday because he is Robert Greene's mentee, and anybody that knows me knows that Robert Greene is my favorite author. Like, Robert Greene is like the Michael Jordan of my reading experience. Just to give you an example, I read the 50th Law this year, this month too, but I didn't put it on my list because I didn't finish it. One, number two, I've read it so many times. I it's just padding the numbers. That's just it is what it is. If I put it on there, I'm padding the numbers because I want to say I read more books, but I've read that book every year. But getting back to Trust Me, I'm Lying, this book, I can say it impacted me the most. It's definitely my book of the month. If I had to tell you to pick a book, then I would definitely say Trust Me, I'm Lying, because the book breaks down how the media works and how social media works and how blogs work, right all the way up to CNN. And it breaks down PR campaigns. It breaks down how people create attention and buzz and awareness for themselves, and how all of the news that we get basically at this point is lies. Perfect example yesterday. Tom Brady. Well, when you see this book, when you see this, it'll be yesterday, which was Saturday, January 29th. I don't really like dating my stuff, but yeah, this is very important because on yesterday, news broke that Tom Brady was retiring, only for Tom Brady to come out and, well, not Tom Brady to actually come out and say, but for the reports to be retracted and say that Tom Brady hasn't made his decision yet. And that was just a prime example. So the way that the news is set up today, according to Ryan Holiday, is, people look to blogs or they look to inside sources. And a lot of these times, these inside sources are PR people who are looking to create a story, to spin a narrative. And once they get that tip, then somebody has to be the first to report it. So what you have these days is everybody scouring blogs and devouring Twitter and Instagram feeds and anything they can to find a story so they can blow it up and make it news. And that's why you have so many different venues like DJ Academics, Complex, the Shade Room, Media Takeout, all of that stuff. The reason that the media works like that is because people enjoy headlines, just like I said earlier, how you chop things up. And what people don't realize is that if you don't want somebody to be successful, then you ignore them. Like when people repost Kevin Samuels and they talk about how angry they are at Kevin Samuels or Fresh and Fit, or how people talk about how they dislike Fresh and Fit and they hate him and blah, blah, blah. Every time you share that person, they get bigger. Same thing with Kanye, Kim Kardashian, Julia Fox, Drake, you name it. Any of these celebrities, if you want them to go away, then you ignore them. You don't repost it, you don't share it, you don't like it, and then that demonetizes the subject, and then it doesn't become popular anymore. And so I say all of that to say that these people understand that it's better to be hated than to be ignored. So if they can make you hate them, Donald Trump, prime example, he ran his whole campaign on that, just staying in the news, saying things that are crazy, making people not like him, making people hate him. Whatever he said it. He stayed in the news. He was always the center of attention. And that is basically what the book is saying, and it was written back in 2011. And you could almost say the book is prophetic because Donald Trump got into office using the same exact tactics that this book was talking about. And it might have been written before 2011. I don't know. I had to go back and look. But anyways, Trust Me, I'm Lying by Ryan Holiday. That is my book of the month. I would definitely say check it out. You need that in your life because it'll give you so much clarity. It'll give you so much understanding, and it'll help you realize what's important and what's not out here. So those were the books that I read in January. I appreciate all of the support. Let me know what you think about these books, if you read any of them, if you haven't read any of them. If you agree with my takes on them, if you disagree with them, let's get some feedback. Let me know what y'all think. I look forward to hearing y'all's feedback, and I will holla at you soon.